Hey guys, Terry Weigel here, the Quick House Buyer, and Monday morning I'm headed out. I'm gonna meet a kind of a business friend, if you will, somebody who we get together. We do a little bit of networking and masterminding, and kind of look for ways to help each other out, send referrals, things like that, and completely unreal estate related, if you will. I guess that's not completely true. He does insurance, so he does sell homeowners insurance, but you know, I got to thinking back not too long ago, especially in the economy that we're in right now, that what could you do to really start making some quick cash? And you know, I know about wholesale flipping and everything else, but I started to think back, way back when I first started. You know, I just hit 10 years in being a full-time real estate investor, and I remember way back when I started, brand new, and didn't know a whole heck of a lot about anything to do with real estate. I've gone to another seminar, and when I was at the seminar, I you know, was trying to wrap my head around everything that was there, and this old gentleman came up. He sat down next to me, and he was like, you know, these old guys, they kind of tend to complicate things. They're always trying new different things, new different ways of doing stuff. And he said, I've been in this game a long time, and you know, I found that there's one easy way to go out, get a deal done, get a deal under contract, where bottom line is there's no risk. So I was sitting there looking at him, and you know how you sit there and look at people and you go, you never would get that impression that, you know, they really had a lot to going for them as far as money or anything else like that. Come to find out, this old gentleman, he had been in the game for quite a while. And as I later found out, he certainly knew what he was talking about. As we kind of talked through the weekend, we'd have lunch together. He'd let me pick his brain a little bit, and he'd kind of ramble on. And he started talking to me about lease options. And, you know, he started to convince me about how they really were risk-free done right. And that's the key, is done right. There's a lot of people who teach how to do lease options, and bottom line is that, you know, some of the ways that they teach you to do them, there's a definite risk factor. And being new and starting out, I certainly didn't want that. I didn't want to go out there and mess up my first deal. I certainly didn't want to, you know, go out and lose everything. So sat there talking, and one of the things that he talked about was the fact that when you think about a lease option, and think about it today, in today's market, 10 years later, you're dealing with an economy that, you know, people are desperate to get out of the house. They're not lending money like they used to. You have your whole scenario of buyers out there who need affordable housing, but they can't go get a loan. And the sneaky little thing about that is that a lot of the people who are looking for affordable housing that can't get a loan, they still have a little bit of money to put down. Now, they may not have enough to do an owner financing. That's kind of where lease options come in. Now, over the years, I kind of put into play what this gentleman told me about. And, you know, when I sat there and think about it all these years later, the selling on a lease with an option to buy was one of the ways that I sold the majority of the houses I bought subject to. And yeah, there's a couple little tricks you kind of learn along the way, and I'm going to be sharing those with you over the next couple of days. Little tricks that I learned, negotiation strategies. Like, let me give you an example. A lot of people get concerned, especially new investors get concerned, because, you know, they're afraid that the homeowner wants all this money down. Well, how do I do that? If I don't have money to put down, I don't have money to put down. And it stops them, it freezes them. Well, you know, guys, what I learned is that you and I know the game, the way that the game should be played as far as real estate goes, but a normal homeowner and a buyer, they don't understand all the terminology. They need a little bit of help on that. And what I found is that if you talk to a homeowner right, they really are not looking for things that we'll talk about as we go forward, like option consideration, you know, and all the other things. And you can negotiate a lot of that up front. And most of the time, if you don't even bring it up, they don't even know to ask for it. So there's different strategies, different ways, different negotiation techniques. But think about this. Right now, you know, go look online. Look for people who are trying to rent their house, people who are trying to sell their house, people who are asking for what their house is worth. But unfortunately, you know, it isn't what it's worth, you know? So you kind of got to take that into consideration. All these things are happening out there. It's kind of like this little perfect storm for you to go in, get a house under contract or under a lease, and with the option to buy, and be able to turn around and sell it to another buyer who's looking to move into a home, their own home, because a lot of those things have just been taken away from the buyers, right? So let's talk about putting on hats for a second. You know, at my house, I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a father, I'm a husband, 20 years this July. I work at the fire department as a captain, and so when I go there, I've got to wear an entirely different hat. And this business is the same way. Depending on what role you're playing at the time, whether you're a buyer or a seller, you have to put on that hat. You have to wear that title, if you were. So we'll start off by going to the whole part about when we're talking to sellers. Now, me, when you go into a seller and you want to buy something from them, see, when I'm talking to that seller, I want to make absolutely certain that I get it all on one contract, the lease purchase contract. That way I can go in and argue equitable rights. Okay? I want to put it on one contract, the lease purchase contract, and I want to be able to argue equitable purchase if for whatever reason the seller decides to flake out on me. And trust me, that can happen somewhere down the road. That's why you have to protect yourself and learn the things we're going to talk about. So you want to buy, when you're buying from a seller, you want to put it on one contract, a lease purchase. When you sell, you want to put it on two contracts, a lease on one, and then giving them an option to buy on the second. That way, if you have to go and evict somebody in court, you can argue on the foundation of the contract of the lease, not the option, the lease. And that way you can evict them rather than having to foreclose on them. Now, are all judges going to agree with that? Maybe, maybe not. But it gives you a firmer foundation to stand on. So think about those things. Think about some of the ways that you could go out and find people who are looking to get rid of their houses. And right now, with foreclosures the way it is, it's an incredible opportunity. And we're going to come up with lesson number 2 here in a day or so. So be on the lookout for that. And this has been Terry Weigel, the Quick House Buyer. We'll see you on the next lesson.